Good morning. The Gospel of Luke provides the framework for today's Good News reflection. Luke 11, verses 33 to 36. No one, after lighting a lamp, puts it in a cellar, but on the lampstand, so that those who enter may see the light. Your eye is the lamp of your body. If your eye is healthy, your whole body is full of light. But if it is not healthy, your body is full of darkness. Therefore, consider whether the light in you is not darkness. If then your whole body is full of light, with no part of it in darkness, it will be as full of light as when a lamp gives you light with its rays. Do you remember the Sunday school song, "This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine"? Hide it under a bushel? No. I'm going to let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. If your vision is clear and you are full of light, your enlightenment can't help but spill into the lives of those around you to enhance their own apprehension of light in the midst of darkness. This passage suggests, though, that there are counterfeit sources of light that can fool us into thinking we are being enlightened, yet their endpoint is disillusionment and desolation. How do we discern among the many sources of so-called light that beckon us to follow? Margaret Silf, in her book Landmarks, speaks about the after effects of false insight and experience that can eventually lead us into distress, turmoil, and distance from God, others, and our true selves. Can you identify times when you have come up against a false spiritual guide, either external to yourself or from inside your own heart, that was not the advice you needed just then? What made you realize this bit of direction was misguided? What tricks did this guide use to seduce you away from your true north, that inner compass that shows you the path that is right for you? Have you ever noticed when you have landed on a moment of truth, how it opens a whole new way of being in your life? Energy flows, and with it, freedom to move forward without hidden agendas or defensive postures. There is a sense of peace and trust and alignment with love. Margaret Silf writes, "Those things in my life that spring from false reference points are like weeds that will fail to grow and bear fruit. Those things that spring from my true center connect to a source of energy and power beyond myself, which sets free my real potential." Ignatius of Loyola, who wrote the Ignatian Spiritual Exercises and began the Jesuit order in the 16th century, instructed his novices in the prayer of examen, which they were to practice at the close of every day. This prayer is a review of one's day with God, noticing where God has been active in one's lived experience. When was I living in harmony with God's will, with my own truth, and in communion with other people? And when did I get off track, orbiting around another agenda that resulted in my disconnection with God, others, and myself? This was not intended to be a prayer of self-condemnation, but rather of awareness, such that over time one would become more attuned to the inner movements while they were happening, and could then self-correct by simply reorienting oneself toward the true light. Jesus invites us to lose ourselves in him, says Rob DeCote. We can allow his life and teaching to become the increasing focus of our lives. He promises to all who respond to this invitation an abundance of life. It is a glorious and gracious exchange, continues DeCote. In giving up the width and breadth of all the complex sources of so-called wisdom and bringing my focus onto Jesus, far from losing life, we end up gaining passage through the narrow gate to the increasing glory of a life lived more singly for God. The I in this gospel passage refers to the means by which light reaches someone's personality. We must be sure that what we accept as light is really light and not darkness in disguise. The light shining from Jesus can be trusted, and this is given to us generously by the Holy Spirit if we are open to it. James 1 verse 5 says, "If any of you is lacking in wisdom, ask God, who gives to all generously and ungrudgingly, and it will be given you. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. We can ask him to open our eyes to see the center of our own truth, where he dwells in communion with our spirits. This inner space provides us with trustworthy guidance. We must become quiet to listen to this inner voice of love. With this poem by Jan Richardson, we conclude this morning's reflection. Blessed are you who bear the light in unbearable times, who testify to its endurance amid the unendurable, who bear witness to its persistence when everything seems in shadow and grief. Blessed are you, in whom the light lives, in whom the brightness blazes, your heart a chapel, an altar, where in the deepest night can be seen the fire that shines forth in you in unaccountable faith, in stubborn hope, in love that illumines every broken thing it finds. Blessings on your day.